Hello, hello, hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hi everyone. What's up? Happy New Year. जो जो आज न्यू ईयर मना रहे हैं सबको हैप्पी न्यू ईयर, हैप्पी गुड़ी पाड़वा, हैप्पी उगड़ी। आज बहुत सारे फेस्टिवल्स है। नवरोज है कश्मीरी लोगों का एंड देयर आर मेनी फेस्टिवल्स, सो बेसिकली हैप्पी न्यू ईयर। Oh, and Kaneez is also here, so let me just admit her. Mm.
Hello.
Hey Kaneez, what's up?
Hey, how are you?
Hi, I'm very good. You look so fresh. Oh my
Oh,
God.
yeah, sorry. I was out and then I was like, I was like, can you quickly take a shower? So I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm going to be like 5 to 10 minutes late, but I'm here
You
now.
look great. And how is South Africa?
It's beautiful. Like, this is my view.
Oh wow.
It's just, there's the ocean in front. I'm just so happy I'm here, just
Oh
not in Bombay.
wow. Yeah,
I got
great
it.
decision.
Yeah, I got out just in time.
Yes.
Um, yeah, like 2 weeks before the lockdown happened because I was like, should I go? Should I not? And then I was like, you know what? Even if I get stuck in South Africa, let's just go. So
Yeah, and anyway, nowadays all life is online as long as there is
yeah.
lockdown. So
And also
it
like
doesn't matter.
I met some comedians here in South Africa and I'm doing live shows here also now,
Oh wow.
which I can't even do in Bombay right now. So I was like, this is working out well. Like I might as well just stay here for maybe 1 or 2 months. I don't need to rush back.
So it's a new, it must be a new kind of audience, na, in South Africa. Like, are your sets different or
It is. I
are
mean,
they
I
the
do
same?
that, surprisingly, Soumya, like, I've been in Bombay for like 16 years, in India for 16 years, and I built my comedy career there. And, like, I tried to really, like, not adapt. Like, I did know the Indian culture, but I was really focused on being an Indian comedian. And I forgot. And then when I came here and performed, I actually forgot that I know so much about South Africa as well because I grew up here for 21 years. And it was
Wow.
such a big part of my culture, and I completely like denounced it or didn't even like mention it ever. And so when I'm doing jokes here, there's actually so many references I can go on, that I could never use in India that I can use here. And I was like, this is really cool that I get to explore this side of me as well as a comedian.
Wow. Actually, it's very funny that, like, by a very strange coincidence, I never knew Trevor Noah, okay, until like
Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
And
I'm so
and
happy.
one of my friends, basically, he's a chess grandmaster, Anish Giri.
Yeah.
uh he's also a streamer, so and he's like world top 10, and he's a huge fan of Trevor Noah, and he happened to recommend him. So I
Oh,
just like, ऐसे ही ठीक है चलो कौन है देखते हैं, and I loved all of his work. मैंने ऐसे दो
oh,
हफ्ते में सब देख लिया जितना भी, as much was possible, and I thought he was so smart and funny, and then I realized he's from South Africa, and
comedian.
I'm like, अरे Johannesburg. Yeah, he's originally from Johannesburg.
His grandmother's from where I am in the Transkei in the Eastern Cape.
Oh, okay, okay.
Is my internet a problem?
Yeah, it's lagging a bit, but it's okay. I mean, yeah, it lagged a bit over there, but right now it's okay.
No?
I'm just adjusting you on the screen.
Okay.
And yeah, and then I saw this video of his with his grandmother, which is not a comedy video, it's just a news kind of video, and it was so
Oh,
like endearing, and like I really wanted to ask you a little bit about your like, it made me feel like so connected, as if, like it was so real, and
oh.
such a different life in South Africa compared to Europe or India for that matter.
Correct. It's not like America. It's not like Australia. It's not like Europe. It's not like India. Obviously it's got its own cultural flair. And I think that's when I came back here, like now in the last 2 weeks, I was just like, I know a lot about South Africa. Like it's part of me, right? Like,
Yeah.
I've been trying so hard to make people in India see me as one of them, which is fair. But then I realized I also have this big part of me which I need to incorporate slowly, and I am a dual, like I have I'm a dual citizen. I'm like, I live
Exactly,
in
and it's your asset actually. You don't
yeah,
need to hide
exactly.
it at all. You need to.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
basically, for me also this used to happen because I am Tamilian and my family is Tamilian, and I've lived in Maharashtra my whole life.
Yeah.
So ऐसे पहले से सब लोग पूछे थे, are you Marathi, are you Tamil, are you Marathi, are you Tamil, ऐसे, as if I have to
Exactly.
choose, but I don't have
Exactly.
to choose ना, मतलब why
You're
should I have
both.
to choose? Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
both. So today is Maharashtrian New Year, which I'm celebrating, and tomorrow is Tamilian New Year, which I also celebrate. Like, and
You're like, I get double the holidays. Why would
yeah,
I choose?
double the sweets, double the everything.
I'm not choosing.
So, by the way, do you speak any South African language?
Not really. Oh my God, my languages are a problem everywhere in the world. I can speak like Xhosa and ek kan 'n bietjie Afrikaans praat, maar like I don't also like sometimes when I try to speak Afrikaans, I switch to my bad Hindi and like it gets very confusing because my brain is like, oh, language you don't know. And then I start speaking Hindi. Everyone's like, what are you? I was like, oh, you know what? Can I just say in English, please? So
And
funny.
do you think in English or do you think in a different language?
Oh,
Like
no,
this
no,
is
English. I'm monolingual. I only know one language. It's English. That's it. Honestly, I'm monolingual. It's really weird. It's really,
really? At home also
yeah,
you speak English, not Gujarati or Hindi.
nothing.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. That's
Um,
interesting.
I think, when my parents when they moved to South Africa in 81, like my dad, instead of like trying to hold on to his culture, he really tried to teach us to adapt to this culture. Because so that we could fit in better, so that we had a better
Uh-huh.
chance. And so in that process, I don't think they really stuck to like teaching us Hindi and Gujarati. They were like, learn English well, learn this culture, adapt, and
Hmm.
adjust to this environment. I think that's kind of where they were coming from. So they didn't teach us a lot about, but they did take us to India every 2 years, and which is why I moved there eventually because I was very comfortable with Bombay. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting.
And one more thing I wanted to just mention since we are on the South Africa topic that I have been to South Africa just once, and I
Oh.
like my experience there like just blew my mind because I found the people there so helpful and
Mm,
so genuine and kind hearted. Like I have met a lot of good people in my life,
yeah.
but somehow they, like, people in South Africa just happen to be so kind hearted. मुझे लगा कि यार मतलब इतना अच्छे कैसे हो सकते हैं. They went out of their way to help me.
Yeah.
And
They're very
is
friendly.
it is it a, is it a cultural thing, or I just happen to meet these people?
No,
That's
it is a cultural thing. People are generally like they'll talk to you in the plane, they'll say hello. It's not like this culture of just keep to yourself. It's very like,
uh,
hey, it's very friendly. Um, when you meet people, they're like there's the culture is like kiss on the lips, like that's how they greet you. Some of
oh,
the collective, like one of the white cultures does that. So they're very like it's a very like everyone's very like comfortable and casual. It's not a very formal culture.
oh,
Like the formalities are not too important, more than just like being friendly and approachable.
oh, that's very nice.
Well, that's what I remembered and what I'm experiencing now. It could have changed. I haven't lived here for 16 years, so it might have changed. But yeah, from what I remember. Um, yeah. Hey.
Very nice. So, Kaneez, today we are doing something different. Like all these days, we have been trying to learn how chess works and chess principles.
Yeah.
But today happens to be the birthday of the 13th world champion, Garry Kasparov. Have you?
Oh,
I'm sure you must have heard of him. You
I've heard
haven't?
his name. I've heard his name, but I've never like seen any of his matches or.
Yeah, but you must have because he's also a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
politician, like a big politician now, and he used to be the opposition leader in Russia actually until a few years ago, but now he lives in the US.
Okay.
And he is one of the greatest chess players ever. I mean, if you have to name, the strongest chess players ever, and it would be a match between, let's say, Garry Kasparov, Bobby Fischer, and Magnus Carlsen. I mean,
Oh,
these three would definitely names would definitely feature in everyone's top five.
wow.
So he So I wanted to show you a few of his games. No, they are
Okay.
not his best games as such, but I just wanted to show you them because they tell a lot about his character and how
Yeah,
he
this is
approached chess. And I think we can learn a lot from them.
cool. Yeah, I've never seen
So,
anything. I don't know what he's like as a chess player, and I know this name from when I started playing. I mean, started learning chess.
so basically, he was world number one for 20 years and world champion for 20 years.
20 years.
He won the world championship in 1985 and then he retired in 2004. So when he retired, he was still world champion. And today he's 58 years old actually. And the
Yeah,
thing is,
it's young.
he was 22 years old when he first became world champion.
In 85.
So yeah, so he was really young, like that. He was the youngest world champion ever,
Oh, okay.
and he played his first world championship match against Anatoly Karpov in 1984, not 85. And I
Okay.
just wanted to tell you and the chat the story, क्योंकि बहुत ही interesting story है. So basically, he qualified for the world championship match in 1984, ठीक है? And Anatoly Karpov was also from the Soviet Union. He was the world champion at that time. And the match system was such that yeah, the first player to win 6 games will win the match. That was the match system.
Okay.
So there was no maximum number of games. This was the
Okay.
glitch in the rules. And what happened is, uh, they started the match in September 1984. Okay,
Oh, okay, okay.
and Anatoly Karpov won 4 games out of the first 9 games, and Kasparov had won none. He had drawn 5 games, and he had won none so far. So in the first 9 games itself, he was 4-0 down. The score was
Correct.
4-0, and Karpov just needed to win 2 more now to win the match, right? And after that, I mean, it is so easy to break at that point, right? Like you are already 4-0 down,
Yeah.
and
Kind of
like your
resign to your
first,
fate. You're not going to play. That you're not going to win.
exactly, and it's your first world championship match also. It's you're not even experienced or something. You're just 21 years old. So it was like likely that he would have, everyone expected Karpov just to cruise through to win the match 6-0 very fast and just cruise through. After that, Kasparov drew the next 17 games. So he kept on resisting a loss. He realized all he needs to do is not win, but at least draw so that he can stop Karpov's momentum.
Wow. Jeez, that's
So
some hardcore strategy for a 22-year-old.
yeah, and also to draw 17 games, I mean, it's not easy. Like he could have lost any of them, but he kept on resisting. He drew 17 games in a row, and then he lost the 18th one after that. So
Okay.
now he was 5-0
Down.
down with no wins. And after
And
that, he
you need,
again,
and you need 6 to win the tournament.
yeah, he just needs to lose one more to lose the
And
world
you
championship,
got it.
basically. And Karpo thought it's in his bag now. He has finally broken him. 17 draws अभी एक रो में किया. वो streak उसने break किया, फिर वो जीत गया ना Karpo. So now he's 5-0. So now he thought that's it, one more win. So after that, Kasparov drew 4 more games in a row.
Oh my God, such a long tournament.
Yes, it just kept on going. Just imagine. And now on the 32nd game, he won his first game against Karpov ever. I mean, imagine he had to wait 31 games to win his first game in the match.
And this is played over how many months? What month are we in now?
Yeah, so actually, this was already, I think, December. The
Okay.
match went on till February. So the match was played for 5 months because after this, also they kept on making draws until the 45th game. Then
Oh my
on 40, then game number 46 and 47, Kasparov won. And after the 47th game, so basically the score is 5-3.
Yeah.
but already they had been playing for 5 months. And the FIDE president at that time, he decided, okay, it's enough. The match needs to be stopped because he felt he gave the reason as the health of the players is getting affected. I mean,
Yeah,
5 months in a row. Even though both the players actually wanted to keep on playing because they were like, "Ye World Championship match hai, how can you just
yeah,
stall
yeah.
it?" They both are playing for the crown. So but he decided it's going to be stalled and he needs to restart the match. But incredible, right? I mean, incredible mental fortitude.
So then they restarted it, and then
Yes. Then they restarted it in September 1985.
and then that's when he won.
So that match he won, yes. And but
That's a
I
long
just
time.
thought it was. I mean, when I think about it now, like we live in a era of instant gratification, right? Like social
And like
media pe,
blitz games, also like chess. It's
yeah,
like we ever play the 10-minute games. Like imagine
exactly.
chess, like
We want everything fast, like result chahiye. And this guy, he waited till 32 games to win his first match in the tournament, like
yeah.
first game of the match, World Championship match. I mean, tremendous mental fortitude, I thought. And I just wanted to show you that game. So I thought we can see the game that he won, the
Sorry,
first
just give
game
me
that he
one
won.
second. Just 1 second. I'll be back in a second.
Okay.
Okay. I'm just getting water.
Yes, sure, Kaneez. Sure. Take your time.
Okay, I'm back. Let's
Oh,
do this.
awesome. So I'll just send you the link. I have a request. Please don't leak my username because it's my it's not the usual account. I couldn't remember the password for my usual account, so I used another account.
Oh, no
So
problem. Leak as in how? What?
don't say it out loud
Oh,
because
yeah, yeah. No, of course.
otherwise
But
I'll get like all these friend
how am
requests
I going
and
to
all.
leak it? Sorry, now I have to open my WhatsApp web on my. Sorry.
It's okay. I'm not window capturing anything. No, it's okay. So I'll bring the code until then. Yeah, we have it.
All right. Okay. Sorry, the study is private. You cannot access it.
Oh, really? Okay, 1 second. I'll reset it. 1 second. That's strange. I have to invite you. Okay, sorry. Yeah, now once again I'll send you a link.
Mhm.
It's working? Awesome. Awesome.
It's working.
So this was the first game that he won against Anatoly Karpov ever.
Okay.
And he played d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, b6. So knight c3, bishop b7 and a3. तो यहाँ पे a3 खेला है so that bishop b4 prevent किया उसने.
Okay.
We will go through the opening a little fast because मुझे बस आपको थोड़ा strategy दिखाना था उनका. फिर d5, c into d5.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay. 1 second.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
Are you there on the sixth move? C into d5.
Yeah.
Knight into d5. Or
Okay.
I'll just check if OPS is working. Sorry. So knight into d5, queen c2. अभी उनका idea है कि e4 खेलना है. So his strategy, Kasparov used to always play very dynamic, aggressive chess. और उनका opening preparation बहुत अच्छा रहता था. So these were his strengths, let's say. और उनका calculation भी बहुत अच्छा था. But in this game, it's more of dynamic and active chess that we'll get to see.
Okay.
So his
And
opponent.
This was the game. This is the first game he won against Karpov.
Yeah, this is the 32nd game of the first match. which Kasparov happened to win. Then knight d7, knight into d5, e into d5, and now he played a really good move. अभी black का idea है black just bishop e7 खेलेंगे और short castle करेंगे.
Okay.
So इसीलिए white played bishop g5. The idea is अभी अगर black bishop e7 खेलेगा तो हम मार देंगे और अगर वो queen से मारेगा तो उसका support c7 pawn का support चला जाएगा and we can just pick it up.
Okay.
So that's the reason between this stuff doesn't work. So he provoked f6 and आपको याद है हमने एक बार ये discuss किया था like ये जो 3 pawns होते हैं ये king के guardians होते हैं.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm talking in Hindi.
No, I understand. No. Please speak in Hindi.
And they are the king's guardians. So when you move each of them, you create some kind of weakness. And
Correct.
usually moving this pawn is not considered a big weakness because it's considered an escape square.
Yes.
But when you move this pawn, you are making these squares weak around the king. Once we had covered this topic, like this dark bishop यहाँ पे आके वो फूल वाला mate हो जाता है.
Yes.
And the same applies for this pawn also. This pawn also, when you move it, the f pawn, it creates a lot of weaknesses around the king and it's not the most healthiest idea because then this diagonal becomes very weak. और ये जो squares है king के आसपास जो important squares है वो weak हो जाते हैं. So he provoked f6. So you see, our opponent is most likely not to make mistakes on his own. We need to provoke him.
Got it.
So he provoked it and bishop f4, c5. So now he's in a good position. And after f6, this square has become weak as we discussed. So he played, and he needs to finish his development also, right? This bishop is still here.
Yeah.
So he could play something like e3 and bishop b5 or bishop d3. But he chose to play g3 here, which is very powerful because the idea is you develop the bishop here and then you can even go here sometimes.
But isn't he weakening his king's position by playing that pawn?
Yes, that's true. He is. But the advantage here is that ये जो है light squares है, right? The squares that got weak around his king are light squares. And his bishop is around his king to control them. The light squared bishop. अगर ये light squared bishop, if he gets exchanged, only then these squares will become weak.
But like now, in Karpov's situation, there's nothing protecting those squares.
Exactly. His light square bishop is very far away. If he this bishop was here, then it would have been okay.
Okay, got
or
it.
Here maybe. So
so
that's the reason why his squares are weak, whereas white squares are not weak. So g3, g6. Sorry, 1 second. Let me just check. Yeah, I hope chat is following. g3, g6, h, and here he could have played bishop h3, which would also have been normal move, but he wants to play even अभी g6 खेला है black ने. So this is another weakness, let's say. And he wants to use it as a hook. You remember we had discussed this as well. Like hook is basically when you provoke a weakness in black's a pawn push, let's say, and then you attack it with your own pawn so that your opponent is forced to make more weaknesses.
Okay, so
this
explain what
this pawn it can be used as a hook because now white played h4.
Okay.
So his idea is to play h5 and use this pawn as a hook. If this pawn was still on g7, then this idea would have been a little slow. He needs to play h5 and h6 also. But here it's faster. So this is a good idea to keep in mind. Like you have not yet castled, right? Your rook is still on.
So you're saying this is a good move on Karpov's part.
On Kasparov's. Kasparov is white.
Yeah. So moving the pawn to g6 was, why did he do that?
He wanted to develop his bishop, and also he wanted to control this square, which is now also weak.
Okay.
So that's the reason.
Okay.
So, but now this is a good strategy to remember that if your rook is still on h1, you need not castle immediately when black makes weaknesses on his king side. You can instead take advantage of the fact that you haven't castled, and you can play something like h4, which white did, and go for an attack and use your rook on h1. Well,
so
you know,
what is Kasparov like thinking by putting his pawn on h4?
So he wants to basically not castle. He has decided in his mind he'll keep his king in the center, and it is safe here because none of black's pieces are attacking. And he's the one who has more time. He can create an attack very fast against black's king.
Okay, so this h4 move was just trying to develop into an attack.
An attack, yes. He wants to attack really fast. He doesn't want to spend time developing his pieces, because that also gives black time to develop his pieces.
Attack.
Yeah, and defend.
Okay.
So इसीलिए. So h4 खेला. Then queen e7 black played. So here white developed his bishop to g2. Black played bishop g7, and white played h5 now.
Okay.
So he's using his rook on h1 to create an attack. See, he's not castling at all. After f5, now white was threatening hg, and queen into g6. So there are two attacks on g6. So that's why black defended it with f5. He blocked the queen's diagonal.
Okay.
But now after f5, this square has become weak.
Yeah. And also the queen can just take that pawn now. Oh no, okay.
Which pawn?
Oh, no, nothing, sorry.
Yeah. So every move that your opponent makes, there are some pluses and minuses. After f5, he has blocked your queen from this diagonal, but now this diagonal looks a little weak. So white decided to transfer his queen to this diagonal, where it will be very powerful. So black played bishop f6. और ये वाला position actually I wanted to show you. This is the most instructive position in the game. Now, as we can see, the queen and the king are in one row, right? And now imagine if the king was here or here, right? And there was no pawn here. This pawn on e2 did not exist. Yeah, just visualize it in your mind. The king is not on e1, it's on d1 or on g1, wherever. And there was no pawn on e2.
Yeah.
Then we can actually take advantage of the fact that the queen and the king are in one row, and if we attack the queen with a rook, the queen will be pinned.
Okay, I don't understand.
For example, imagine this pawn was not there, ठीक है, यहाँ पे.
Yeah.
हाँ, तो e2 पे कोई pawn नहीं है, कुछ नहीं है, blank है वो square. And king भी e1 पे नहीं है, king imagine g1 पे है.
So that whole column is empty.
This whole column is empty, right? So now when you bring your rook to e1, it directly attacks the queen.
Got it.
And the queen is pinned. So this is a formation which gives you, like, ये बस एक formation है which gives you a hint कि कुछ तो गड़बड़ है. Like this queen and king are in one row, and you can think to yourself, can I take advantage of this somehow?
Yeah, you can pin the queen there.
Right. So when when your opponent makes certain formations, it triggers positively some images in your mind, some patterns. So when the queen and king are in one row, usually...
Sorry, Soumya. Sorry. One second.
Yeah, no problem.
Sorry.
No problem, bro. No problem. I'm here. Take your time.
Sorry. No, I'm here. My mom just needed something. Okay, sorry. So then, so when you bring your, so then what did that make Garry think of?
Yeah, so he immediately recognized that he can take advantage of the fact that they are in a row, and he made a great move here. He played rook to c1.
Okay.
So the idea is a rook lift to the third rank. He wants to play rook to c3
Okay.
and bring the rook to e3.
Oh, and go around.
Yeah, so he can't, there's no use bringing the rook to e1 in this position because of the pawn on e2.
Correct. It'll just, yeah.
So
But
he found a way.
won't Karpov figure this out?
Yes, he will, but
Oh,
it's not easy to
block
counter
it.
it. That is the problem. So black played rook c8.
It's live.
क्योंकि इतना आसान नहीं है इसको counter करना. So this is the way he found that he also decided to bring his rook in front of his queen.
Ah, okay.
So it's the same pattern that he also decided to adopt.
But his pattern doesn't pin the queen.
Yeah, but it saves his queen.
Ah, got it. Okay.
So this happened.
Ah, it's like a little dance.
Yeah, it's a dance. And then he exchanged the rooks and he played knight g5, queen e7. So this is actually very good position for white now, because after d into c5, knight into c5, h into g6, he's a pawn up because.
Okay, yeah, got it.
And here.
So he can't, if he kills him with his pawn, if Karpov kills him with his h7 pawn,
right,
then he opens his rook to.
Yeah, he can take it, but then white will take on h8, and after bishop h8, he will take the pawn on d5. Right now, the pawn on d5 was not hanging because because of bishop g5. So let's say if he had taken this, he could have taken with the bishop, and this he would have been a piece down, because after queen e5 check here,
Okay.
You still win the rook, but now black checkmates you here. The king is.
Okay.
So white needs to be careful. Like there are all these tactics coming in.
Okay.
And white needs to be careful. So that's why this is a complicated game. But actually, to be honest, I'm showing it just to show his attitude for chess and what we can learn. Like he was down 5-0 actually by now, and he still played very aggressively, very dynamically, and put a lot of mental pressure on his opponent by constantly attacking him.
Okay.
And he played g6. So that's why here if black takes, this is a different position, because now the bishop is on h8. So it's no more attacking the g5 knight.
Yeah, that's the play I meant. Yeah, that's the play I was talking about. Okay, so then?
Sorry. And so you can just take the pawn on d5. So he took hg6, and actually he won this position comfortably. So he played d4. No, actually he made some mistakes after some time. Like this is winning for him, but so after a point,
who's winning right now? Karpov.
This is very good for white at the moment. Very good, because this pawn is weak, and his pieces are really well placed, and the king is actually very weak.
So who made the mistake?
Kasparov made a few mistakes later, let's say, but it was still a very clean game. He's now pawn up, and he managed to convert it after this. So he played bishop d6, knight e6, and g5, bishop h6. So this got a little complicated here, but he managed to still keep it under control. Like this knight is now pinned with the bishop. So he brought back his bishop, unpinning the knight and supporting it. And this endgame, he was a pawn up in the queen endgame, and he managed to win it. So the end of the game is not that impressive, but I really liked the way he conducted
How did he win? How did he checkmate the black king?
He didn't checkmate. So like right now he has 3 pawns. He has 3 pawns,
got it,
and
got
black
it.
has 2, and this is like a technically winning endgame actually.
And so when do they call it?
So so in this position, black resigned.
Okay.
Because this pawn is much faster than this one, and even if they queen at the same time, this endgame with 2 versus 1 and the queen on the board is still winning for white.
It's interesting, like I find it interesting when when players resign, because you talk about the mental fortitude and them like not giving up.
Yes.
And I'm just thinking, like, why would they give up even now, just in case somebody makes a mistake? I know it's like a respectable thing to do. I get that it keeps the integrity of the game intact.
Yeah.
And maybe they're very like, there's a lot of like ethics to like keeping the integrity of the game, so it doesn't become like a shit show with everyone just dancing around the thing. But it's also like, don't you play to the end?
So there are some positions which are like very easy for a grandmaster to convert compared to, let's say, a 2100, or compared to even a amateur. So some positions a grandmaster will surely convert like 100% of the time. He'll never falter. So in these kind of positions, usually you resign out of respect. But in this game, it was a very good question, because in this game, the format, earlier chess was a little different from what it is now. So this was in 1984. And the format was such that 2 hours and 30 moves, I think, for the first 40 moves. So they had 2 hours and 30 minutes for the first 40 moves each.
Okay.
Like each of them gets 2 hours and 30 minutes for making 40 moves on the board. And once they complete 40 moves, they can adjourn the game. So this was a practice which was there until, let's say, 1990, and after that this practice stopped. So at that time there were no computers, right?
Yeah.
So abhi agar now if you adjourn the game, as in you stop the game, you pause it and you can play the next day. Now if you do that, then you can just feed the position into the computer and the computer will give you all the lines.
Correct.
But at that time there was no computer assistance available. So but players could still discuss the game with other players,
exactly.
or with trainers, or with their trainers, or seconds as they are called. Like seconds are basically let's say let's say a form of a trainer, but he is basically there to also help you.
Okay.
Like you is like a trainer will tell you what to do, whereas in case of a second, usually you tell the second what you want from him.
And then
Like
what does he do?
it's a little different concept in chess. Like second is basically they chess is like super vast, like nobody can cover all of it on their own. So you need people to cover some areas, like for example this game. Now there are hundreds of games of Kasparov, right? But how do you know which one should you see?
Yeah.
So maybe you can ask, if you have a second, you tell your second that I want to see a game of Kasparov in which he is played really dynamically. So can you find it for me? So he'll go through all the games and he'll choose the best possible game for you. This is a very basic version that I have told you. Usually seconds work a lot on openings and computers and such, but I'm telling you a very basic version of it. So
do you have a second?
Huh? No, I don't have a second. I'm not on that. Usually, like world champions or like world top 10, 20 players have seconds. Like really strong players. Because the point is, at that level, it's very hard to find a coach. They still have coaches, but the thing is, they are so strong and it's hard to find a coach who can teach them something new. So they have seconds.
Okay. No, this game was very complicated. I didn't understand half the moves, to
Yes,
be honest.
it is very complicated, and frankly,
But
the idea of showing it to you was mainly to show you his attitude for chess
yeah,
and how he approached the game rather than the game itself.
right. No.
And like the fact
He seemed very confident.
he was very confident. Yeah, what did you feel from his game? Like from the opening and middle game part, what was your
I felt like it was like slightly cocky and confident.
huh?
I don't know, like if when you're playing like a world champion, like Karpov, if you're playing, you've never been a world champion before. It's the first time you're playing like in the
Huh?
finals. It wasn't timid or coy and this is just the sense I'm getting. It just felt a little bit like I'm gonna do what I want to do.
Yeah, I actually thought I also felt he was very confident because after being 5-0 down,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
you you might feel like giving up, or you might feel like playing very passively, like keeping all your
right.
pieces together. But he was just going for it, and he was putting a lot
Exactly.
of pressure. And we also have to understand that Karpo needs to win only one game, so he's also under pressure because now he just needs one game.
And also,
And
he's the reigning champion. Like so,
yes,
Kasprov, right?
Anatoly Karpov was the reigning
No,
champion,
no.
and Garry
What's Gary's surname? How do you pronounce it?
Kasparov,
Kasparov, yeah.
Kasparov. Yeah.
Kasparov. No, so I was saying like Kasparov had nothing to lose. Like he was going to win for the first time. Karpov had to maintain his title. So maybe that also gave Kasparov, isn't it? Was Karpov the
Mm,
reigning champion before that? No.
yes, yes, he was. But Kasparov was already like a world elite player, and
Oh,
can't say that he had nothing to lose. He was already like one of the best players in the world, and everyone expected him to win. So he was also under some pressure, let's say.
okay.
Like, so I wanted to show you one more game of his, which um, I won't show you the whole game. So
Okay.
I wanted to show like how he always plays actively, basically.
Who's Robert?
His opponent is Robert Huebner. Sorry,
From
not
America.
this position. Maybe this one. Yeah. His opponent is Robert Huebner, who's also a grandmaster. This game was played in 1986. So Garry was already a world champion at this time.
Right.
And he is black, and the queens are off already.
Oh, okay.
एक मिनट मैं वो चैट में कुछ क्वेश्चन आया था. Hello, lovelies. Big fan of you too. Aditi Patil. Aditi
Hi,
Patil says,
Aditi.
hello, Aditi. Thank you. Kaneez, when is Improv All Stars coming back? Absolutely love your vlogs.
Maybe I should start them again. Thank you for loving vlogs. It's also like how much can we do? Like stream and make vlogs and do my work and like perform.
Yes, I
But
understand.
maybe do a stream once a week will be fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah,
But
maybe
also please catch me on Soumya's channel. Like I want to do more classes with Soumya. So I'll be on this channel often as
yes.
well.
Thank you, Kaneez. And maybe you could teach me improv someday.
Yeah. Maybe we can do that next time.
Yes. मेरा थोड़ा तो सेंस ऑफ ह्यूमर बेटर हो जाएगा.
Love it.
Or there was one more super chat by Rajesh, which I had missed. Ki hi, so hi Rajesh, what's up?
Hi, Rajesh.
So yeah, so this position on the board, आपको दिख रहा है? This
Yes.
position after short castle. Now it's black's turn to move, and it's seemingly a very equal position. Material equal है. 5 pawns.
They
और
both
queens भी
castled.
exchange हो गया है.
They both castled.
हाँ, both the sides have castled. There's only one difference. Black के सारे pieces developed है.
Yeah, they're controlling the middle.
हाँ. Whereas white का ये bishop developed नहीं है. उसको he needs one more move to develop his piece. And the second difference is his knight on a3 is on the edge of the board. We had discussed this. Now, if the knight is in the center, controls a lot of squares. Whereas The knight on the rim is always dim. Controls very few squares.
Okay.
4 squares only on this side. So it's usually not a good idea to develop him on the side. And
Okay.
this game, we can name it the dancing nights game, you know. You know how there are dancing nights, we go out
Like a
dancing.
little Garba with the knife.
वैसे
Garba.
knights have just dance around the whole board in this game.
Da, 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 da.
Dance night Karpa.
I should play this game in Navratri.
So he first decided to stop the development of this bishop.
Okay.
He played knight d3 here.
Okay.
So अभी अगर let's say वो bishop d2 खेलेगा तो
Yeah.
problem क्या है?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you. Just
if he played
small
it
tap.
there, then what's wrong with him playing it there?
There as in where? I
No,
don't know
what are you
where.
asking me? If he plays a bishop on d2, what happens?
You're saying what is the problem with that?
Yeah.
So when the bishop moves from c1, it stops controlling an important square. From c1, it was controlling this diagonal and this diagonal, right?
Okay.
So now when it has moved from this, it stops controlling this diagonal. And you can simply take this pawn. It's free.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So you'll be a pawner. Extra pawn हो जाएगा और फिर end में आप उसको queen बना दोगे.
Did he play that?
So that's why he didn't play bishop d2, because then he didn't want to give the pawn for free. So he decided to support it first so that he can develop the bishop on the next move.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. Okay, so he developed his rook
to b1. So now the rook supports the b2 pawn, and now you can move your bishop on the next move.
Okay.
But black doesn't want to allow him to play bishop d2 still, so he played rook b8. So now there are two attacks on b2. So when white moves his bishop, the pawn is still hanging.
So then?
And also you can't move the pawn to b3 because the pawn on b2 supports this knight. And now after it moves, you can take the knight for free.
Oh my God, this Robertson a little bit of a conundrum there.
हाँ, उसका बहुत ही awkward हो गया है सब pieces. So he decided that this knight on d3 is the issue, is the cause of all his concerns. So he decided to chase it away with rook d1. He's attacking this knight.
Got it.
Black supported it with rook f d8.
Okay.
So he doesn't want to move that knight away. Why should we move this knight away? It's so beautiful, controls so many important squares. So he played king f1. He will play king e2 also and attack this knight twice.
Okay. Also, he's using his king.
He's using his king also. Now black has some time. He doesn't need to be very fast. So he played f5. Controlling more squares. He can even play f4 on the next move.
Okay.
And control the bishop's diagonal as well. You know, like वो bishop के भी squares पे restrict हो जाते हैं after you play f4. ये वाला square चला गया.
So Robert played the king in the next move.
Yeah, he attacked. This was his idea. He was going to attack. So he supported it with his other knight. And now, if you chase this knight away with f4, so you can't move the knight because then the rook takes this knight. But what you can do is, sorry. What you can do is, you can give a check first.
Okay.
And if this rook takes the knight, then this pawn is now undefended because the rook on b1 moved.
Okay.
And you win the pawn. And if he takes it with this rook, then you go knight to d3 again because this rook moved from d1 and it doesn't control d3. So every move that your opponent makes, उसका एक pro है, उसका con है, मतलब.
If he moves it back to.
हाँ, sorry.
No, but if he moves it back to d3, if he moves it back to d3,
हाँ.
Garry,
हाँ.
then Robert can move his rook to d1
d1 again. But now you can take the pawn on f4 with a check, because the difference here is, in this position, the pawn here was supported with this bishop. But you exchanged it. So now the pawn on f4 is unguarded. So it's a fork actually. And after rook d1, you just take the pawn on.
Okay.
So that's why these tactics don't work out for white. So he played knight a4. Finally, he's defending this pawn with his knight also, and he wants to simply move his bishop. यार मुझे bishop में develop करना है मेरा, जो भी हो जाए, ठीक है? So black played rook d6 here with the intention to double on this file.
Okay.
White played bishop e3. Finally, he developed his bishop. But you know, we had played f5 now. So he played f4. Attack the bishop. So he keeps on attacking. He's not giving white any respite. Now after bishop c5, the knight on a4 supports.
Why didn't he take the pawn with his bishop? Because then he'll get stuck there.
Oh, because our knight is supporting it.
Oh yeah, sorry. Okay.
So the knight also comes back. So the knight is really strong on d3. It controls so many important squares. So after bishop c5, it is supported with this knight, the bishop. And here, black could have made some normal move, but he played a really strong move here. He realizes that the king is very weak on e2, very weak. And if we give him a check, it will be completely cornered.
Okay.
So
who's we? So if Garry gives Robert a check.
Yes, we are black. We are black. So you know, like have you played WWE on PS?
No.
So you know, on this PlayStation, you can choose your avatars. Okay, when you are playing WWE, so you can choose to be Rock. You can choose to be whoever else you like. I usually choose Rock. So like that, when you're seeing a game in chess, you can choose you should just assume that you are black instead of Garry.
Got it. Okay.
Like as if you are playing in Garry's position.
Okay.
Like always. Like jiska bhi aap game dekh rahe ho, even if you're watching Samay or Joel's game, whoever's game you're watching, just imagine you are in that position and what you will do.
Got it.
So this is very useful because you get your own strength and you also get that player's strength because you're also thinking like him.
So I think like I'm thinking in Robert's shoes right now.
No, you have to think in Garry's shoes, Kaneez. Kaneez,
we are black. Garry.
Today it's a Garry Kasprov celebration stream.
Okay, fine.
Sort of.
We'll go back to Garry. Okay.
You want to be white in this position? You want to defend?
Butara. I want he needs some support.
Oh, you want to support him? Oh.
Garry is very confident already. He doesn't need my support. Okay, no, so sorry. So then? So the king is really weak.
Yeah, so the king is really weak and you have to think as black over here. So what we do is we remove all his shelter. Okay? So how we do it is we first sacrifice a pawn with f3, which is a tremendously powerful move.
Okay.
Now g into f3, he takes a pawn, but after we play f3, this square, यहाँ पे पहले हमारा pawn था, है ना? So we couldn't have given knight f4 check here. But after we pushed our pawn forward, this square is empty. So we come back to f4 with our knight. And if he goes back, we can simply, actually there are many ways to continue here. We can also play, we can take here also.
Yeah.
We can play something like rook e6 and then take on f3. We can play rook f6 also.
Yeah. There's lots of ways you can. Yeah.
Yeah, there are many ways. Even if we are a pawn down, our position is very, very strong. His king is weak, and these pawns are doubled. They are
So
not a good pawn structure.
why doesn't he go to e1?
If he goes to e1, then this would be a check. Knight to f3 would be a check. So what he wants to do is, his position is already bad. So what White decided is, okay, my position is already bad. Let me at least save my material. I'm a pawn up. Let me at least try to retain my pawn. So he played king to e3 here.
Okay.
But now the king on e3 is like super weak.
Yeah.
So
just exposed. Yeah.
Yeah, completely exposed. So black played rook to f6 with the idea you can give this check and play rook into f3 or knight into f3. There are many combinations here.
Okay.
So white took another pawn. The pawn on e7 was also hanging, but black no more cares about material. He is only looking at white's king now. Pawns गया भाड़ में, उनको बस checkmate करना है white. So this knight which was on d3, it came to f4 and now it gave a check from g2, knight to g2. Just imagine वो knight कितना long journey उसने तय किया है बाप रे.
Yeah.
And after king e2, he took rook into f3.
Okay.
So now he's only one pawn down. Bishop d6, white play. So white is attacking this rook and he's also threatening bishop into e5,
Yeah.
bishop into e5. And since the knight protects the f3 rook, king into f3 once the knight is gone. So black gave white a check, knight f4. उस king को last rank पे भेज दिया. So now from here he can get checkmated. And here you want to attack this pawn, Kaneez.
Okay.
Your rook is hanging, sure, but just forget about it for now. You want to attack this pawn. So how will you do it?
Your rook is hanging, but you don't care. You want to okay.
You want to give rook f2 check here. Like, let's say, how can you do it? Now, abhi rook f2 to nahi aata hai because free hai.
Yes, correct. So you can't do that.
You need another piece to support your rook.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'll find it.
Yes, take your time. Let's see if chat finds black's next move. Meanwhile, Harshad Gharote says he sent me a previous super chat. Sorry, I missed it and it's I cannot see it anymore. But thank you so much, Harshad. Thanks for watching the stream.
Thanks, Harshad. Sorry, now I'm back to concentrating. Okay, so sorry, could you repeat that? He wants to get rid of that pawn, right? So how can he do that?
Yes.
Oh, can he put the knight onto d3?
Yes, that is one way, and much of the chat also suggested it.
Oh, okay.
This is one way, but okay, there is an even better way to do it because.
Okay, let's 1 second. I'm going to say 1 second. Oh. Okay, is it in one move that you do it or like a couple of moves?
Yes, one move.
One move. Ooh, do you take his rook down to b2? No, that doesn't make sense. He'll take it. Do you take the I don't know that many options left.
The knight, you moving the knight is absolutely correct, Kaneez, but
okay, so then to g4?
Exactly, and a lot of the chat also suggested it, so well done. So the knight to g4 is better than the knight on d3 because after knight g4, white did not take on b8, but let's say white had taken. Now black can actually checkmate white.
Black can actually checkmate white.
Yes.
Yeah, by taking H2.
H2, yes, but actually there's a knight H2 will not be checkmate because white goes king G1 and he attacks this knight and there is no check on G3. And if we give knight E2 check, he simply takes it.
Okay, got it.
But
so in one move, he can check it in one move.
No, not in one. We played knight G4 so that we could attack F2, है ना?
Yes.
So let's take it. Let's play our intended. Rook into F2. अभी अगर वो king E1 खेला तो अभी checkmate in one.
The bishop.
नहीं, बिशप से अगर हम चेक देंगे तो वो पॉन से मार देगा. हाँ.
Sorry, not thinking. Doink. Oh, can the rook go to E2? Because he can't take it because the knight will. But then he can go to.
He could, but it's not checkmate in one because then
he can go
square,
to.
Yeah. So you're on the right track. So you now know that bishop to C3 doesn't work. Bishop to C3 आपने consider किया is very good because first thing you wanted to do is use your remaining piece, but it doesn't work as you noticed. ठीक है? Second, you have noticed that rook को भी rook का move भी नहीं हो सकता because when you move the rook, the king goes back to it.
Oh wait, can you take the knight and move it to? I said G2.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So
because he can't move because the rook is there, he can't go up.
Exactly. So this is checkmate, and this would have been such a beautiful checkmate. Imagine वो king पूरा starting में E1 पे था, ठीक है? Then he went to G1 after castle, okay? Then he came to F1, he came to E2, he came to E3. Then he went back to E2, then he went to F1, then he came back to E1 and got checkmated where he started. You know, अपने घर पे ही checkmate.
The moral of the story is stay home and wear your mask. That was the reason why we did this stream today, is to remind you to stay home. Don't go dancing around. Just stay at home. That is the right place.
Exactly. Very well.
This whole stream was just one big PSA to stay home.
Yes. So after rook F2, if he goes king G1, let's say. Let's say he goes king G1, Kaneez.
Okay.
So
when is this?
Here,
when does he? Okay.
Here you need to be a little careful. So here हमने जब rook F2 उसको check दिया ना, हमने हमारा rook दे दिया यहाँ पे. Sorry, यहाँ पे फिर rook D2, sorry, थोड़ा आगे चले गए. Knight G4 को अगर वो bishop B8 मारता, so we had given him a check on F2, है ना? So king E1 doesn't work because of knight G2 checkmate. But what if he goes to G1? So again, we have to keep giving him checks because we have sacrificed a rook. So we have to checkmate him now. नहीं तो हम rook down हो जाएंगे.
Okay. So can we in one move?
No, not in one move. This is not a checkmate in one move. And here there are two ways to give him a check, right? I mean, there are two pieces that can give him a check, isn't it?
Yeah. The two pieces are?
And the two pieces are the rook.
Yeah.
And the knight.
Where the knight go?
The knight can go to either H3 or E2.
Yes, of course. Sorry. Okay.
But this is not very effective. Giving the check with the knight is not very effective because when we move the knight, it's not checkmate immediately. He goes here. And you would think that rook into H2 is a checkmate here because it supports, the knight is supported with the rook. But the bishop comes back. So long moves are easy to miss. And why did this happen? Because the knight was blocking the bishop's path on F4. But once we moved it, the bishop suddenly got free and it started defending her king from very far away.
Got it.
So that's why it's better to leave the knight on f4 and give a check with the rook. And
But then
now
no, you can't take it.
now I'll ask you, huh? Abhi king h1 agar gaya, to
Yeah.
let's find the mate in 1. Chat, you can also. Yes, Mayur has found it. Mayur has
Yes.
found the whole variation, but chat, you can try not to look at his answer and find. And while Kaneez is also thinking.
I know. Yeah,
Yes,
I think
yes. Take
you
your time.
take you take G4 knight and you put it on F2.
हाँ, brilliant.
Okay.
कितना मस्त ना हमारा नाइट्स मतलब पूरा गेम उसने किंग को कॉर्नर कर दिया. This would have been a very nice checkmate, no?
Yeah, but he didn't play it to G1. He played it to E1.
No, he played something else. He didn't take the rook itself. But we are trying to learn checkmate patterns also from this game.
Okay, got it.
So let's say he plays king f1 here and not h1. So now we know that we need to leave our rook on g2, नहीं तो वो वापस आ जाएगा.
Yeah.
So how do we give him a check?
With how do we give him a check?
Yes.
We can't use the rook.
Yes.
Can't use the rook. I have to use the knight. So then we take his pawn.
Yes, we take his
And
pawn. Brilliant. With the knight, right?
Yeah,
We take his pawn. Great. Now the
Okay.
bishop doesn't defend it because our knight is still on f4.
Yeah.
He goes to e1.
Oh. Okay. Can we move the rook to e2?
Great, brilliant. Because now he anyway can't go to g1. So we don't need to leave the rook on g2 and we can use him. Wonderful. And the knight on f4 supports. तो फिर वापस वो e1 पे आ गए, checkmate हो गया. So this rook sacrifice was really powerful. And these knights and the rook in combination played so strong and just cornered the king. But white was also alert. ये position में उन्होंने लिया नहीं वो rook because white also spotted all this. So white defended his pawn on f2 with rook d2. So now he's defended it. So अभी checkmate नहीं हो रहा है, इसीलिए black decided to save his rook. Played rook e8. So white played knight c4, trying to bring his pieces towards his king and defend somehow. Black played knight h2. Now this file is controlled with the rook.
Yeah.
So king g1 forced it. Knight g4 back. Now the knight is hanging. So knight g4. Rook f1. And now he brought his last piece into the game. So the rook is doing a great. Okay, rook can also be brought into the game. I agree. Yeah. Right now you don't need to control this file. But basically the bishop can be really useful right now. So he decided to make a small combination. He played bishop d4. Yeah. He's attacking f2. And if white takes on d4, what do you think is the problem?
Like Garry can take the pawn with the rook. Then he can take his rook. Then Garry can take his rook.
No, actually he can just take the rook with a fork, knight fork. He can give a check. Oh. And after the king moves, he can take the rook and the knight also supports the rook, so the rook is not having it.
Oh, okay.
So this was the small.
Where I went.
This was a small combination. So bishop d4 khela, attacking f2. So white played bishop c5. So that this dangerous
Wait, what
bishop
game
can.
is this? What game is this? The same game.
It's the same game.
So, but I thought he already checkmated him. I thought he went on e1 and checkmated him.
नहीं वो उसने bishop b8 खेला ही नहीं. हम we were looking at variations. What happens
Oh, I was like, what game is this? Like, I thought game. Well, he got checkmate on e1. And that was
No,
that.
he didn't. He could
Oh.
have. We were just looking at some variations. What happens if white takes the rook, but he didn't take the rook.
Okay, fine. I'm sorry, I did not realize.
That's okay. No, that's fine.
So this is the real game now that we're watching.
This is the real game.
Okay.
So now, black to play. He gave him a check again. Rook to g3. So the bishop suddenly controls this diagonal. So this pawn is pinned. And after king to h1, this is the only move. Played rook h3, king g1. And now, okay, there are many ways to win this game, but black found the best way. He played knight to h2.
Okay, but nothing's protecting him there.
No, the rook is protecting him.
Oh, sorry, he's like, okay, yeah.
And what is his threat, Kaneez? Let's say I take the bishop on d4. Then what
Let's go back one. Okay, so you take the knight goes to h2.
Yes, knight h2.
Then what happened?
अभी white ने resign कर दिया यहाँ पे because he saw black's threat and he realized that he cannot prevent it.
Okay.
But let's say you're playing someone, you are black and your opponent plays bishop d4 यहाँ पे.
Okay.
Maybe you're playing Aishwarya and she plays bishop d4 यहाँ पे. So आप यहाँ पे क्या खेलोगे?
I'll take my rook to d8.
No, actually see, you have given up a piece here, है ना?
Yeah.
You decided to give up a piece here. So it's definitely in exchange for something direct. It's not because you just wanted to give up a piece. आप उसको बचा भी सकते थे यहाँ पे या आप ले सकते थे. But you decided to play knight h2 with a threat. So can you think of checks? See, कोई भी position में ना first thing we need to consider is checks. यहाँ पे check आता है क्या कोई?
Can we put check him, right? Can we put knight on h2 to f3?
Yes, wonderful. Wonderful. And what do you think that is? After knight f3, I won't make the move. What do you think that is? Where does the king go?
The king will go to g2.
Can it go to g2?
No, it can't.
Yeah, because our knight on f4 is so powerful.
Can't go to f1.
Right, because after we move the knight, the rook's path is cleared. So we control h1. So it's a checkmate.
Wow, that's a good checkmate. Oh, and so Robert saw that coming and he resigned.
Yeah, so he resigned after knight h2. But it was such a beautiful game with both the knights dancing all over the board and so many nice checkmate patterns.
Happy birthday, Garry.
So it's a very unusual kind of checkmate, right? Like usually you checkmate with the queen or the rook, but here the two knights did the whole job. सारा काम उन दोनों ने किया. Like, so did you find it interesting, this game, Kaneez?
That's cool. Yeah. Also the game with as in like with the knights doing all the work. The knights are doing all the work. I haven't seen a game with the knights doing so much work.
Great.
That's cool.
So I just wanted to show you one more small position.
Okay.
Before we. So the thing is, we saw in this game that there were a lot of combinations, right? Oh, 1 minute, I don't have. Just 1 second, I need to copy it. I'm bringing it.
Soumya, my computer's gonna die in 10%
Yeah,
time. In
I
10%
just
time.
wanted to show you like one position if you have
Yeah. In
time.
case.
Like I basically wanted to explain the concept of a combination to you. Um, just 1 second, let me bring it on the board first.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have it on the board. Can you see it on the board? This position that I set up. Yeah. Okay. Let me change my screen. So basically, this was Garry Kasparov's game against Karpov from his 1984 match, which was it 1985? Now I don't remember it, but just 1 second. This is 1985. This is from 1985. This was a really very interesting game, actually. Very, very nice game. Maybe someday I'll show it properly on the stream, like the whole game itself. And but this particular position I chose to explain the concept of combination. So usually हमने जो भी देखा है, we have seen checkmate in one move. We have seen attack, we have seen defense, right? What is a combination? Combination is a series of tactics.
Yeah.
जैसे मैथ्स में होता है. हाँ, तो basically we combine all these different tactics that we learn, जैसे अटैक है, डिफेंस है, या स्मॉदर्ड मेड. हमने एक बार नाइट का चेकमेट अभी इतने सारे देखे हमने, या स्मॉदर्ड चेकमेट, बैक रैंक चेकमेट. So all these different tactics that we have learned will when we combine them in a series of moves,
becomes a combination.
It becomes a combination. Yeah. So the combination starts much before the tactic began, actually.
Okay.
Like the tactic might be in the end position. There might be checkmate in one move in the end position, but the combination began much earlier.
Okay.
So in the previous position, for example, the combination began when we gave up the pawn on f4 itself. When we gave him a check with f3, gf3, we spoiled the structure, right?
Okay.
And then we came back with the knight. So it was the start of the combination. And okay, I'll just put that position. जब भी यहाँ पे ये पोजीशन में we played f4, right? And we gave f3 यहाँ पे check. याद है आपको? And knight f4.
Yeah.
So this was already the start of a combination. Like, okay, or even this combination that we saw after bishop d6. Yeah, this is a better example, actually. This is a better example. That after bishop d6, he played knight f4, king f1, and knight g4. So this is the start of the combination. Okay. Whereas the main tactic was, after king e1, like after king goes to e1, this knight f2 is the checkmate.
Yeah.
Right? But he saw all this when he decided to play this move here, knight g4.
Okay.
Because he saw all these series of moves that led him to knight f2. So this was knight g4 was the starting of the combination.
When they say like in chess, you need to be thinking about like 5-6 moves in advance.
Exactly. Yeah, this is what it means. And how do we do that? This is something I wanted to explain.
I see combinations sometimes. Like I'm like, oh, I want to reach there, but I don't have the skill to. Like I'm not looking at the opponent's possible. So I can see what plays I need to make, but I can't see what plays they might make to stop me.
So you're able to visualize, right, where you want to reach.
Yes, I can visualize. I'm like, if I put it there, then I'll take that, then I'll go there. But I can't I don't have the skill yet to see what the opponent will do to prevent me from getting there. But yeah, I visualize combinations for at least my play.
Oh, that's great, because that's the whole point. Like, we need to first visualize the last position, the end position that we want, and then we construct the series of moves. Then we start the series of moves.
And
Like
mine's not, I don't visualize checkmate. My visualizations are just like 2-3 moves ahead, not like.
Yeah, that's fine. I think actually 2-3 moves ahead bhi dekha na, even for a grandmaster level, if we for every move opponent when we make a move, our opponent has 2-3 options, hai na?
Yeah.
So they are like branches basically. For this move, you're going like this, and then there is a branch here, there is a branch here, there is a branch. And even for grandmaster level, it's said that if you just see those 2-3 moves accurately, it's enough. Like, you're strong enough. Because itna aage kaun dekhega? There is not much time also, na? You're playing so fast, and you need to also make your decisions fast. You can't.
Correct.
So it's a little bit of about intuition as well.
Yeah, these blitz games are very like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't calculate everything. It's a little bit about feeling and just taking a chance.
Exactly. You develop another skill. It's not like they're not extremely calculated moves all the time. Like, it's also like, it's interesting. It's like the IPL of chess.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So let's just see. This is one position that I wanted to show you. So white has just played rook d3.
Okay.
And after a few moves, now it's black to move. And after a few moves, oh, you have to go? Okay.
No, I'm
Sure.
sorry. I mean, private message.
It's okay. Sure, Kaneez, if you want to go, it's fine. Totally fine.
I'm so sorry. I have to be there. I have to be somewhere.
Okay. It's totally fine. We'll continue this next time, because I wanted to show you the concept of. It's totally fine. Yeah, I understand. Your mind is somewhere else.
I'm so sorry.
It's
sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, it's 5 o'clock. I have to go. And I was like, I'm not gathered.
Have a great day. Have a great evening.
And then you announced it on the chat.
That's okay. Charity hai apna, matlab, they're cool.
For our next class, like, yeah, if you can show me some combinations that.
So next time I'll show you this concept of combinations, creating combinations.
Thank you so much, Soumya. Yeah, like, let's create combinations. I can just yeah. Yes. I think like sometimes when you show me like games, it's like everything together.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it'd be nice for you to like just show me the combinations they were thinking of, and then we can just do that. And
yeah. We'll do that next time.
Because it's also like you're also showing this to me and chat for us to start recognizing the patterns, right? Like, this is a way of teaching us how to recognize
exactly
patterns.
Yeah, pattern recognition. Like the rook lift today we saw when the queen and king were in one line, and then he brought the rook to in front of the queen. Yeah.
So I'm in that space in my learning where I'm like you're teaching me patterns, and you're showing me like how different players play and create their own combinations.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
So thank you so much, Kaneez.
Thank you so much, Chan.
Completely fine. You were so great. Thank you so much for participating.
And let me go next week.
Yeah, we can like coordinate on WhatsApp and decide something.
Yeah, like, because again, like, I just to repeat, like, there's no competition. We're not doing this. This is just fun to learn.
Yeah.
So I just want to learn. And then yeah.
Great.
And also, somebody you should give us homework. Like, give me homework. Yeah. Give me homework.
Okay.
Like,
I'll give you.
You have to play, like, I have to play this many games in the week, or I have to watch one of the famous games, and then I have to note down, like, maybe it's like, be like, okay, note down how many combinations you saw in this match or whatever.
Okay, so I think what would be great is if you can play like 5 games this week.
Okay, 5 any games.
5 any time control games, and try to analyze on your own as to what went wrong, and tell me the next one.
Okay, done.
Okay, what went wrong or right, of course. I mean, I mean, there must
Played,
be something wrong on your opponent's part also.
I played 100% accurate game, so there was nothing to pick out. So cool.
Huh.
I'll do that.
Hmm?
Done.
Cool,
Okay.
cool, cool. Awesome.
Thanks, Soumya. Thanks, chat. Bye.
Bye bye. Wait, I'll just like crop myself now. It's too awkward. So big. I'll finish this combination thing. Chat ko to at least I can show. Do you guys want to see, or do you guys want this last thing that I wanted to? What's up with the chat? Queen's Gambit is a cool show. Anshu says on Netflix. सॉरी चैट मैंने आज बहुत कम चैट देखा क्योंकि ना मेरे को ऐसा लाइक when I'm like I go into this teacher mode and then I don't know how to interact too much. But it was a really nice game. Now both the games that we saw, what did you think? What did you think of both the games and the story, like this whole story of the 1984 match and how he came back in the 1985 one? It's amazing, right? Um, और थोड़ा mods बनाओ Samya. The chat gets toxic sometimes. Okay, किसको बनाए mod? Who's managing the chat today? Mayur was managing. Thank you so much, Mayur. Um, Chess with Suyash says he streams in Marathi. He says that Soumya, you're a great storyteller. Thank you. We'll like to hear more stories from you. Okay, sure. Especially about Indian players when you all go outside India. Yeah, sure. I try to share during the streams. Yeah, the stories are a lot of fun. Divya Deshmukh को mod बना. Divya is a mod already. ठीक है, I'll just show this last one and then we can all go. So how to create combinations, right? Like the idea is that you first visualize. Uh, Obviously, it's also a little bit about pattern recognition, but you visualize what is the last position that you want on the board. I mean, this is one way to do it. I mean, there are different ways. You can also see instead what is the best move in this position. That is also a good way to create. That is also a good way to approach the game. But let's imagine we want this. We want this position as the last position on the board. So it's completely different from this one, right? In this one, there was one rook here and one rook here, and they got exchanged. So how do we reach there? So the first thing is that we need to exchange one rook here. So that's a hint. So black played rook c1 here. क्योंकि अभी वो अगर rook e3 मारेगा तो rook d1, bishop f1, rook into e3, and both the pieces are hanging. So if white supports the bishop with king g2, you can just take on b1 and b2 exchanges half and be happy as well. So white played knight to b2. He guarded this rook and now he's threatening rook into e3. So white played a really cool move here. He could take rook d1 also, but he played queen to f2. So now after rook c1, you can simply play this check, check, and checkmate. This also doesn't move. And then white played knight to d2. और यहाँ पे you can play rook to e1, but rook into d1 is much more effective. So after knight d1, rook e1, it's a checkmate as knight f1, rook into f1, bishop f1, queen f1. So this is one way to create a combination on the board. You visualize what is the last position that you want, and then you reconstruct it. Like you go back and reconstruct it. So we'll try to cover it with Kaneez in our next session. जब भी होगा, let's say कभी होगा. Oof, no board. How stupid this was. Thanks, Boomer OP. Okay, maybe we'll not do it now. Then I'm like, this is so. मेरा भी energy ना पूरा चला गया है. पूरा. Are you guys feeling energetic? I'm feeling like just want to sleep. Okay, wait. Where I get this? सब चला गया. This is so funny यार. अरे मैंने इतना explain किया. Random. Complete random. Drink वो कुछ तो listen to some songs. No, actually today I didn't go for exercise, and when I don't exercise I feel so lazy now. I cannot even tell you. It's amazing. Before you go for the exercise, you feel lazy to exercise. But in case you don't exercise, then you feel even lazier. It's like it's a weird thing about exercise. Karan Anvekar says, I'm highly energetic. I can go 22 hours without sleep. Oh my god. Ranjit says, maybe this is a lesson to improve visualization. Yes. Absolutely. Oh god, so boring. So I need to explain the whole thing again, which is so stupid. But okay, I'll do it. So this is the position, right? This is the last position, okay? And then how do we get it from here? Maybe this is not the best example to explain combinations, because in this game many things were winning, but we know what is the last position we want, and this one. So the difference is that ये दोनों rooks exchanged है, and that is a hint already. So here white played rook c1. He decided to exchange these rooks. And this I already explained. I hope you guys visualized it. कि इसके बाद ये दोनों pieces hanging हो जाएंगे, and black will be double exchange. और इसीलिए this stuff doesn't work. So white decided to support his rook and with the knight, and now he's threatening rook e3 next. Okay. Now he's threatening rook e3 next move. So black saved his queen, and now next move is rook e2 or rook e1. If he plays rook c1, then black can just give a check. This is a checkmate. So white played knight to d2, covering f1 square. Black anyway took it, और अभी the checkmate. So like if you have this position in mind, for example, like you know that this checkmate is possible, you also know what kind of pieces to exchange. Like you know that this rook is defending the last rank, right? So you decide to exchange him first. So this is the way to create a combination on the board. Like you remove the defender and you basically visualize what kind of um, position you want to bring, and you try to bring it with every tactic. And I think we'll cover this like a little more properly in my next stream with Kaneez, because ये explanation इतना अच्छा नहीं है, इतना clear नहीं है. Like one example is not enough to explain some concept. I think we need like a few examples. So that's why. Okay, I'm like super tired right now, so I think I'll go. Bye bye, guys. I'm just reading this chat जो चल रहा था when there was no board. It's so funny, so funny. So yeah, happy birthday to Garry Kasparov once again for it's just such a huge legend, and I'm so glad that we could cover at least two of his games, and this is really good. Make me mod. I don't think I can make anyone mod right now. Bye bye. Bye guys.